So Otura Rico, Osunsun, Wede, the priest of the forest, cast Ifa for Otura, who was going to be rich and marry Egbe. He was told to make sacrifice and complied. Not too long, not too far, come join us in the midst of blessing. Blessing we find at the foot of the king of the Orisha. Ashe. So, what is Osunsun Wede? Anyone? Anyone? Ewe is a herb, right? It's a herb of Obatala. The Odu Ifa says that Osun Wede is the priest of the forest. So what does Obatala have to do with that? Especially, and when it deals with this herb is used when there are things wrong with the skin. So it could be something that is visible or non-visible. So we know that Osun, right, camwood is used, right? They use that to beautify the skin, right? They put it in their creams. It's red. It'll make their skin darker and give this red hue to it, right? So it's done to beautify. So Osunsun Wede, the priest of the forest, Igbo, the trees. This is the Ifa cast for Otura. I'm going to marry Egbe. So how does changing the skin, doing things to the skin, healing in a way, right? Healing, um, beautifying, right? How does that help us to align with someone else? It helps us to be in a state of attraction. We know that we utilize the Ose Dudu, right? We utilize these different things to help us to attract, to help us change our energy on the surface while we change our energy internally. Osun Wede, Obatala helps us to attract the things that will help us to be balanced. So being rich is one thing, or having abundance and prosperity and all these things, right? It's different if you're alone or you with someone. This Odu Ifa, we don't necessarily have to say it's about love, but why not? So we have the Ifa says that we have the prosperity, we have the abundance. It's the alignment that one needs to make that will help one to have comfort, to have peace, to have all ire. So it says it right in the verse because first Otura was rich, right? But Otura needed something else to kind of like help consummate all its blessings. At the end of the verse, it talks about Ire Bogbo, a lot of blessings, plenty blessings. Well, that's Ire Pupo, but all kinds of blessings. we see earlier in the verse, what's the thing that is needed? What's the two things that's needed? Well, one thing, Osunsun, wede the herb, washing oneself, right? Oneself physically, right? Spiritually, emotionally. Embodying this particular Orisha, and in order to help attract balance. The abundance is not the issue. So we can say, like, we like to say, if we have money, we have everything. That's not the case. This Odu Ifa tells us, that it is through the changing of one's energy. It is the balancing of one's energy that really helps bring all those blessings. It's almost funny in a way, right? Because it tells us not to be superficial. Actually using Osunsun wede, right? Utilizing Osunsun wede on the skin is how we would do that to help us to transform into, wearing it on our character, the thing that you can't see. It brings attention to the way we look, and that we need to kind of like check the way we look, or the way we look at ourselves, one, and the way that others look at us. The Odu Ifa helps us to change our character. We change the inside and the outside at the same time. The abundance that we have, or the level of abundance that we may have, right, is one type of blessing. It's one type of blessing. It's like having peanut butter with no jelly. It's like having a hot dog with no mustard. Being abundant with no spouse. So, you have all kinds of money and be a bachelor or a bachelorette. The things that you do with your blessing will be different. The way that you see the world is different. When we are balanced, this Odu Ifa tells us, it shows us, right? Because it gives us the change of events. It tells us the thing that's going on, right? Osunsun, wede, the owl of the forest. Ifa cast for Tura. We're going to be rich and marry Egbe. So what energy can we, on its face, can we look at with Otura? Anyone? Ifakunle?
I'm not sure.
Ifalola?
Obatala?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, he in the Odu, but when we talk about Otura, okay, so who knows the energy that we talked about with Obara or Conran? The cockroach, the spider, what energy is associated with those? Or what Orisha is associated with those? Ogundeji.
I ain't sure, but I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say Egbe.
Shango.
I'll say
Shango with Otura, right? It's a lot of Shango, energy, but it's elevated. So Shango, being born the king of Oyo, took time for him to elevate, transform. We can see it through, with Obara Meji and Okanran Meji, and now here we are with the Otura Meji as well. But this is Otura Rico. But if we take that sentiment, right, and we have an elevated being, right? Each one of us elevated beings. This Odu Ifa tells us, okay, so you elevated, right? Now it's time for you to continue in your elevation. You already have abundance. What was the thing that helped Shango the most? Anyone? Oh yeah. So we have plenty of stories or Pataki or Odu Ifa to discuss about Shango and how Shango had all these exploits and things like that, right? It talks about Shango having 3 wives. We can see that in Okanran Meji. Kamosun, Kafito, Le, Aje, Kamosun, Kafito, Le, Asho, Kamedu, Kafito, Le, Ileke. These 3 alignments with these energies Shango had at that time. But it is through those alignments, I guess that would be an applicable, that example would apply. It's the alignments that help him to have success in these different things, right? So with Osun, whatever they received from that, Shango received cowrie shell divination. Oya helped balance his energy so that even when he was in trouble, right, it was the balanced energy that got him out of trouble. It was him kind of like wearing that energy in certain points, right? That feminine energy that brought him longevity. So we can apply that kind of sentiment here, right? So the abundance that we may have, right, it's still abundance. It's still abundance. But when we have someone to, one, help us to balance our energy, right, to help us to decide what to do with our blessings. It is then that the blessings are magnified and compounded and they last longer and they, so it gives us something to ask for, something to shoot for. It gives us an idea of what we can expect when we pursue certain alliances, certain alignments, certain directions. It's not limited to just spouse. What idea, what perspective will help us to multiply the blessings that we already have? it's important, right, that we start in the right place, right? We must see that we are abundant as we are. The Odu Ifa doesn't show us where there's a lack mentality. It says Otur was already abundant. He was seeking, or she was seeking, more abundance, trying to consummate their blessings. The Odu Ifa says that by changing up some things, changing up things on our physical body, changing up things on our character, changing the things that we were on our spirit, changing the way that we see and feel ourselves, right? How we feel about ourselves and what we have and where we're going. Sometimes, it could be these other things. But we understand the truth about the verse and what Ifa says, that there needs to be something that takes us to the next level. The Odu Ifa helps us to understand that it ends and begins with us. Our perspective, the way we see ourselves, is first. The way that others see us is second. What things are we going to place where? What things are we going to place as importance over another thing? How we move forward. We move forward together with those ideologies, with those perspectives, with those people, with those things that will help us to have more abundance. We have to first look at it, right? Look at ourselves and see if this thing is a blessing or not. Sometimes we need a little help seeing the blessing in it. It tells us that the point we should look from is this higher elevated energy. I don't know, we'd be like, Baba, man, I'm tired of looking at stuff as this higher vibrating energy, higher elevated energy, this elevated consciousness. If they wrong, they wrong. I shouldn't think that they had the best intentions behind the action, or the thing they said, or the thing they gave. It was half-assed, Baba. It was not good at all. Look at the thing, right? And see the blessing in it. Look at the thing and learn your lesson from it. Sometimes it's easy, simple to wash the thing away, right? When we feel a certain way, right, about something, let us wash those things away. Let us cleanse and purify ourselves and our environment of those things that don't help us bring blessing. Otur is going to marry Egbe. Otur has a certain amount of abundance. It is through balance that we should have more blessing. Questions, concerns, comments? Ifakunle.
No questions.
Ifalola.
No question.
Ifaki.
My bad.
It's okay. Ifakemi.
No questions, Mama.
Iya Candace.
No questions, Baba.
Ifawumi.
No questions, Baba.
Ogundeji.
No questions.
Obatala, again, right? Balance. Balance in the masculine and feminine, given whatever situation it is. Balance in the masculine and the feminine, and whatever situation it is, helps us to have more blessing. Ashe. Aburo boy Boshishe Aikulo. Can you change your name?
Obatala Asuri Warrior from Aburoboy Boshishe, Olori, Oluwo, Iyanifas, Awo, and Ile.
Ashe. So, I'm gonna pause this. We should continue to reflect on it. That it's something that, you know, you can say, well, I'm at this particular position, and so, you know, this is where I need to be, so this is how I'm gonna be. This Odu Ifa asks that we continue to have self-evaluation, that we continue to look at ourselves and change, evolve as well, especially when we're calling in new alignments. And so when we do that, the Odu Ifa tells us that not only will we have the abundance that we had already, but we'll be able to have all Ire, that we'll have Ire Bobo with the alignments that we make. The bachelor is not the same as the married person. The bachelorette is not the same as the married person. A single person is not the same as someone in a relationship, whether it's literally being married or in a relationship, So, stop it, Eva Kule. You know, they be talking junk anyway. So, you know, so I don't even know what the heck I was talking about. But anyway, doing what we need to do in our position, in our, you know, the self-reflection will help us with self-actualization, right? The change that we undergo, right? Even with ourselves, sometimes no one can see. But we must continue to evolve. And, you know, when we do that, our blessings will be magnified. There'll be peace and comfort, you know? And so, Ashe, you want to add anything?
No, I have a question.
Asheo.
How would one use this verse in their daily life? Or when would they incorporate this verse?
So, Osunsun were, right? Even if one can do it while one is washing, right? If there's something that we need to rid ourselves of, right? So it could be displaying anger or some type of pain, right? Some type of thing. We want to rid ourselves of it because it's not bringing balance. It's something that's taking us out of, you know, balance, harmony. So when we wash, right, you know, even when we use the ose doodoo's and things like that, right, this verse will help us as long as it doesn't have as long as it does not have bitter leaf or what was the other one? There were two things that was associated with Otura Rico. One was bitter leaf that was taboo, and the other one was, I think it was Ewedu. So as long as it doesn't have those, right, you can use this, right, to wash away. You know, you can use it with any ose dudu, even with just regular soap, right? When we wash them, to remove things from us. So in essence, we asking that Obatala, right? Okay. It was bitter leaf and something else, right? Okay. Oh yeah, so bitter leaf okra. So long as your ose dudu doesn't have those things in it, right? But you can use this because you want to remove those things that will keep you from those alignments, right? So you know, if you're I don't want to. Well, if you're dating, right? Sometimes there are things that have happened in past relationships that you may bring into your current relationship. We will use this verse in order. Let me you know. Again, it requires a honest view of yourself. So you would utilize this verse, Osunsun were were, the owl of Igbo, cast Ifa for Turo. We're going to be rich and marry Egbe. Remove the things that keep me from moving forward, the things inside myself, the things I wear on my sleeve, my emotions even. Bob ain't got no sleeves today, but we can wearing my heart on my sleeve. Those things can preclude me or stop me or put up a wall between the thing that I want to do and the thing that I need to do. The thing that brings me blessing. Let us be balanced, right, with Obatala, those high elevated, those high vibrational energies, those balanced energies, all those kind of things that will help us move forward. Let us look at things clearly. Let us remove the things from ourselves, right, that keep us from all our blessings. Yeah, we blessed already. We blessed already. Sometimes it could be a lifestyle. We ask it, hey, let me remove these things from my lifestyle, from my environment, right? The things that's close to me. Those things that cover me. It can be fear, anxiety, depression, if there was a thing. Like, Papa, depression is real. It's real if you say it is. Sometimes, like I said, it's ideology, conditioning. Are we conditioned to think things are supposed to be a certain way? How could that preclude us from having spouse or from having different alignments? It very well can. Baba, you know I don't trust nobody. Use this verse because it's the trust that will keep you from the alignment. It changes your behavior. Oh, Baba, I've been hurt before by men. Oh, Baba, I've been hurt before by women, you know. Oh, I come from this. Oh, I come from that, right? This Ifa is telling us that those things, those feelings, those sentiments, those ideologies, is the things that we need to wash away, right? So we can move forward to all Ire Bogbo. So this is how we would use this verse. If we think back, you know, the discussions that we've had about some of the other verses in Otua Rico, it's about Ori and our chest rejecting certain things. In a way, this falls right into alignment with that. So what are we going to remove ourselves, though, from inside of us to help us to reject the things that's outside of us that may come our way? Right? It goes hand in hand. If, you know, we posting, I get on and I post, and I do these different things, and it's met with criticism. It's something that's inside of me, right? That makes me respond in a certain way, or not at all. If I'm at ease and at peace with, and I have the knowledge and support behind the thing that I've posted, just using this as an example, then what difference does it make if what somebody says, if they don't agree? In essence, they're really showing their lack of knowledge about the issue, or their knowledge about the issue, right? So what in me makes me feel the need to defend the thing I've done. I've already set my stance, my position. Ashe. Let us all move accordingly. Let all who are advised to offer a bow do so accordingly. Kulo, any questions?
No questions, Baba.
Aje, Synergy, questions?
Yes, Baba, but I will send it to you directly.
Is it about this thing or something else?
It's about this thing, about what you speak on depression.
I mean, if you don't mind, we can talk about it here. We can talk about it later too, but they may have some questions. It may inspire others to ask other questions. So, you know.
Okay.
Unless it's, you know, nothing too personal.
I mean, you know, it's personal, of course, but you know, I don't mind sharing things I've been through. You know, we're close in age, so it doesn't bother me. So the depression thing for me, the question is, for someone who deals with a level of depression via have been in the military and some other things, it seems a bit dismissive to me, the way you speak of it. And I just wanted to kind of get some clarity as to like more your ideal on it. Because it's not about, for me personally, it's not about what other people think. It is literally a mental battle, an emotional battle. And it's not just about what I had to do when I was active duty. There's other things in life that play a part. But it seems a bit dismissive, and I could be wrong, but I just want some clarification on that.
So, I would agree, right? And so, like, you know, this is general, but I would agree that it does seem dismissive. That's exactly the point. That's exactly what I would like for you to do. I think it's exactly what this Odu Ifa asked us to do, right? It's certain things that we need to dismiss. So if we continue to have a particular perspective about a thing, then we'll continue to have that same perspective. It is only when we decide to make a change, that we will. So ultimately, right, you know, it is what we will allow to affect us and how. So it could be that, for example, one has a victim mentality. So that means that that person, you know, is always feeling victimized. That they feel like they're not an active participant in anything. So what we say, those people don't have accountability. They lack accountability. So, you know, I'm not saying that there's not these real issues, but how do we start to change them? So like, you can't go back and change the things that happened in the past. You must accept them as destiny. So if something happened to you when you was 11, right? And then you're 50 and the same thing's still bothering you, right? I'm 51. So it's not wise for me to allow me falling off my bike at 11 or me getting into a fight at 11 to still continue to bother me when I'm 51. I'm not even the same person anymore. So I see you, Ifalola. So this is how I mean it. We must reevaluate those things, right? And under the conditions that we have today, and see if those things are applicable to today. Understanding destiny, right? And how we chose our destiny when coming from heaven to earth, you know? We have to work through those things and understand that it was destiny. Again, I'm not saying that there aren't things that bother us. It's actually supposed to. It's actually supposed to. This is why we have a memory. We're supposed to remember. But the thing is that we can pick and choose what we remember and how we apply it today. And so those things, right? Let's just say, you know, daddy issues. I got them. But there was a point in my life where those daddy issues would keep me from doing the right thing. Right? Beef with them. I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't want nothing to do with y'all. I don't want nothing to do with none of y'all. That's me making that decision as a child, as a teenager. Right? And part of my life. So now what? It's different. Because I've changed, I've washed those things away. Right? It took washing and 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 washing for years until I was able to wash that away. But now with the alignment, it brings abundance. Ire bobo. So we talked about it the other day, right? Can anybody tell me when I got married?
$23rd. That's all I remember. I forget the month, but
Right. It was this month, last year.
that shit.
So like, think about it, right? The person that my wife married, right, had to go through all those things. And not only did that person have to go through all those things, the person had to have healed from those things as well. So she didn't marry somebody who was depressed about their family. She didn't marry someone that was depressed about this thing being incarcerated. She didn't marry a person that was still mourning the loss of their twin. She didn't marry that person. She married someone who had healed from those energies. This is what the Odu Ifa is telling us. The money and shit, it don't really matter. It does, but it don't. It's about you and you being comfortable with those things. You know, I ain't saying we gotta like everything, but the Odu Ifa don't say you gotta like it. It says that you need to wash those things away to help consummate your blessings, to increase your blessings, to magnify them. Did somebody have their hand up? No.
Ifalola.
Ifalola. See, 4 eyes is
Yes.
better than 2.
I wanted to speak a little bit about it because I've learned that we all have, and I've been talking with others in the group about our emotions and learning our emotions. And I think that the basis of us moving forward is the blockages of our emotions. And when we haven't acknowledged exactly the feeling that we get when we're going through something, it can be anger, worry, fear, doubt, all of that. One of those is blocking your the progress. And when you haven't acknowledged it, or it turns into something bigger, which can be depression, something worse, it can turn into something more aggressive, if that makes sense. So I think that you should feel your emotions and feel what you're feeling, but don't become it. And then once you acknowledge exactly which emotion it is, because you get the same, it's different for everybody. Well, for me personally, if I'm feeling fear, if I'm feeling fear, it might feel like something stabbing me or something like that. Everyone has a different feeling to it. So once you acknowledge what that feeling and put together, I learned using your right brain, pictures and things of that sort, you can bring those together, and then it will help unblock where you're going, and help you to understand what exactly you're feeling, why you're feeling that way. Because when you meditate, I learned that when you meditate and those events pop up, you start to get a feeling about it. And if you don't know how to match it to what, if you don't know how to match it to what exactly that emotion, what exactly that emotion is, then it just unravels into something bigger, which is aggressive, which turns into depression. So I do believe that being dismissing the depression part, I do believe that can be dismissed once you grab exactly what your emotions are telling you. That's it.
Shay?
If that all makes sense.
I'm gonna say something after everyone else gets done. Cause I saw another hand went up.
Ogun Deji.
Okay.
I ain't mean to do that.
Yes, you did. Go ahead.
No, I did. No, for real, I didn't. You know, if I had something to say, I would have said it, Bob.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
So, some of you may know, or some of you may not know, but I do have a history in working with mental health and acute care, which is when people have kind of been 1013, or they're at a point to where they need medical attention. And so I wanted to say that, yes, depression is a very, very real thing. When you're experiencing it, when you are around someone with it, you can feel it. And it's more than just deep sadness. Depression goes in and can begin to affect your health, your body, your mind. And so it's more on, it's not just on an emotional level, it becomes on a biological and a spiritual level. And so when I was working in mental health and they were only addressing the physical and the emotional, and they weren't addressing the spiritual aspects of depression, people weren't getting better. So when I went in there and I began to bring Ifa practices into the hospital, people stopped coming back. So they used to have a lot of return people. But once I started incorporating the spiritual aspect of it, the depression began to lift and leave. Now, medication will step in and make the person unable to feel or to be able to express certain emotions, such as crying, or as Ivalola was saying, when there's panic or there's fear, they won't have the stabbing feeling, but they'll still feel deep in the back of their mind that they're afraid. And so then you end up just going through these motions. But when you incorporate the spiritual aspect of it, because there could be spiritual reasons that are causing the depression, there could be spiritual reasons that cause the occurrence, the incident that caused the depression. And so we have to kind of understand that when Baba is saying, if there is such a thing, it's saying that there's all these different factors that can lead to depression, and that it's not a permanent thing. Is that once you're able to kind of work through it and overcome it in all these different levels, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, the biological, all these different things, the ancestral, because some of this stuff is ancestral memories that have just been passed down into the DNA. And so as you're doing this washing, as we're giving things to our Ifa, as we're giving things to our ancestors and our Egbe, you know, some people can fall, a lot of Egbe people fall into depression because they have this longing or this this loneliness that they can't quite pinpoint what it is, but it's because of their Egbe.
Right.
You know, their Egbe is pulling on them. If they're not in tune with their Egbe, then you can feel depression. And depression begins to materialize.
She said, I know. You went.
Depression can begin to materialize, and people will not leave the house for days. People will sleep. People fall into sickness in different parts of their body. People aren't just sad, but they are literally losing time. They don't have any memory. Their short-term memory is gone. And they're just, you know, vessels walking. And so when we're saying that depression, if there is such a thing, medically, they try to say that if you're depressed, there's nothing that you can do about it other than taking medication. And that's not true. And then the psychologist will say, depression, you need to address the emotions. But then what if the emotions have nothing to do with the incident? What if you can't pinpoint where the emotions are coming from? It's also vibrational. So are we lifting our vibration out of depression? Depression has a vibration. You can usually tell when you're standing next to someone that's depressed if you are someone who's in tune with energy. So if there's a lot of negative energies around someone, because energy gathers, you know, for our biblical people, you have legion, where negative energy began to gather to become one major entity. And so she said it shouldn't be recording.
I think I'm recording it. Yeah.
So when this energy begins to gather, you will feel things such as depression. You will feel this foggy feeling in your mind, your memory. You will begin to lose time. You will begin to lose your blessings, because the Ajogun, these negative energies, are pushing your blessings away, and the positive energies can't get to you. So when you're feeling yourself in this depression, as Ibalola said, address it first. Find out, what is this emotion? Where is it coming from? Put a name to it. Is it I'm angry? Is it I'm sad? Is it because something that happened in my childhood? And then you begin to move this energy around so they can be lifted.
Right. It's not permanent.
It's not a permanent thing. You have to lift it. You can even eat right. Certain foods that we eat can turn around and affect our bodies that will cause depression. If you have a thyroid issue, you're prone to depression. And a lot of people don't know, a lot of Black people don't know they're walking around with a thyroid issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you got the thyroid issue that's causing you to feel depressed. And now it's affecting you spiritually because you don't want to get up and do this. You don't want to go outside. Your energy is down. You're not going out into the sun. And then it just all begins to snowball. You know, so it's all, you know, you have to address everything all at once. We're not saying that it doesn't exist. We're saying it's not what people are telling you what it is.
Aje, let me say one thing over there. So again, right, when we get back to like the taboos, the food taboos and things like that, the things that they place in the food, even the color of the food, the color that we wear, all those things, remember, it's about energy. And so being able to be in a particular place to, one, like be cognizant of the emotion energy, right? And it starts with the food. And well, I don't want to say it starts with the food, but the food plays a part in it. All these different things, right? That even the advice and things like that all play a part in it. And so I just don't want you to feel like that these types of things are permanent. And so that's why I don't like that term, you know, because it has a finite feeling to it. You know, if you battle from depression, right, you always gonna battle with depression. And I don't agree with that.
And before we get you, Ifa, I see your hand. Speaking on different taboos, I can't remember the Odu, but I'll try to find the name of it. There was a Babalawo that was called by a king to help his son get out of depression. The son was having basically symptoms that were depression. And he kept calling these Babalawos and none of them could figure out what was going on. And so he ended up casting Ifa, and he casted Ifa for the mother, his own mother, and the mother was supposed to go to a bush and have white cloth. And so somehow they figured out that they were going to take the boy to the water, which actually, again, this whole biblical stuff, take the boy to the water, and they bathed him in the water. They washed him in the water, and then he used to always wear black. He was wearing black clothes a lot. And they began to pull the black clothes off of him. And as they pulled it off of him, he was putting it into the bush. And the mother was handing him white cloth. So he pulled out the white cloth and wrapped the boy, the king's son, in the white cloth. And after that, his depression was gone. And so it was merely that the boy was wearing the wrong color clothes. And by wearing the white clothes, the depression lifted.
So the black will absorb other people's energy. The black, you know, Aje, the black holds all frequency, where the white reflects. Ifa Kimi.
Y'all both kind of said everything I was about to say right after I lifted my
Say it
field.
anyway.
Say anyway.
So, I used to be a clinical therapist, so my background is in clinical psychology, and I had to study psychotropics and, you know, all different types of mental illness. However,
I don't do that no more. I don't do that no more.
Right. So what I was gonna say is where y'all led to is that depression is an energy. It is a low vibratory energy, just like joy is an energy. It is a high vibratory energy, and you get to choose to shift to whatever energy you desire. So that allows you to have control. The thing about depression is that this energy causes your mind to think about events of the past. And the thing with the mind is, if you do not have a strong rooting in your present, your body and your mind and your emotions will continue to react to this event as though it is present. So that goes along with, you know, your past lives because it's in your DNA, your ancestors because it's in your DNA, all that trauma, the depression that they experience. Sometimes, many of the times that the depression that you are experiencing, this energy that you are experiencing is not even yours. It is your ancestors. And the thing about energy is, guess what? You already know this. Energy attracts like. So you could be putting yourself in situations that causes you to continue to perpetuate this energy. Eating, that's where I was gonna go. So the chemicals in food, because food is a chemical itself, but they add additional chemicals. These chemicals are actually also hormones. When you eat this food, it acts as a hormone. So if you are eating certain things that causes, I forgot the chemical to go down in you, you're going to perpetuate this energy, this depressive energy. So that's why taboos are extremely important. This is why you do have to eat light. Vegetables and fruit are light. I know, everybody ain't gonna be no vegan, but eat more, eat more light, because
That's a Torrico though.
Okay. that energy will begin to decrease within you when you become lighter. So understand that, like, depression, that word, I'm not going to be too much longer, but I want to tell people about the diagnostic manual, the DSM, where these medical and mental health providers, they look up these symptoms that you have and they assign it to a particular diagnosis, which can also be similar to 15 other diagnoses, depending on the therapist, psychiatrist, or psychologist, or doctor, because they halfway do that. Depending on their perspective. So they're practicing. They don't even know exactly what they're doing. And so they have programmed this word depression with a bunch of negative energy. So that's why it's mindful. You have to be mindful of that word. You can continue to call it depression if you want, but be mindful exactly what it is. I just call it, from my education with it, I just call it lower energy that you either need to release, or you need to transmute that energy to something else. And it is possible. Another thing, I want to say something about the DSM. That word may not even be in there in 10 more years, because they go to a panel, a board, they agree whether they should have that word in there, that diagnosis in there. Just like mentally retarded used to be in there, and they changed it to intellectual disability. This type of stuff changes all the time. I forgot what revision they're on with the DSM, but just be mindful, like, of the word, because that word carries a certain level of power. Yeah, that vibration, because so many people are using that word. So that's my take on it. And the reprogramming the subconscious mind, which I also connect to the Ori. I feel like when you are in your periods of depression, you're not in alignment with your Ori. So you have to do a lot of work with that. I can't think of anything else because y'all hit a lot of points. But everything that is around you. Oh, another thing. Here we go. If you are empathic, a lot of people that are empathic suffer from that lower energy.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be mindful of that. Anybody that is suffering from that, or I won't say suffering, I would say has that challenge, because suffering has carry a negative vibration. Worrying carries a negative vibration. All the worrying is warring. So you just got to be mindful of the words, because this is self-talk. Now we're going into thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. That's a cycle. So what you think, you start to feel. What you feel, you start to behave. And that's how you attract that energy. And then it feeds right back into thoughts. So you have to cut it somewhere, whether it is stopping a certain behavior, taboos, whether it is deciding that, oh, I feel this emotion, but I'm not going to allow it to for me to become it, like Ifa said. And then you could begin to change your self-talk. That's all I have to say.
Shay? Candace?
Yeah, so this conversation is wonderful. I agree with the foods, certified plant-based nutritionist over here. But the quick
I'll say the quick version that I have of everything that you guys are speaking on is there's a book that I like called Becoming Superhuman, by Joe Dispenza, that speaks on this very thing, not necessarily depression in a way, but at the beginning of his book, he talks about a woman who lost her husband in a tragic accident. And every time she spoke about that scenario, she relived it in her body to the point where she started to develop cancer and many other things in her body. But then when he went through, her mental, damage that just happened from her reliving it by speaking on it and telling her story over and over again, she started to go back to work and everything started to get better for her because of the mental changes that she had to do from speaking on that tragic day because her body kept reliving it. And then she even started to get well and get better. So my reference for anyone who wants to look further into this, Becoming Superhuman is a great book to read about, like what Ifa Kimi talked about, transmuting and changing that energy to where you can use that energy to navigate through life as you go on. That's it.
Ashe.
And let me bring two things in. So sometimes when you go to Ifa and then you cast on a situation, what they'll tell you afterwards is once the EVO is done, don't talk about it again. And or once you've made a separation, like if you go for a bond breaking and you break the bond, you're not supposed to talk about it again. And so, because that can end up undoing or bringing that energy back. So when you're saying that the mind, because they'll say that the mind can't tell the difference between the past, the present, and the future, which is why when we manifest things, we speak into the future. We're speaking these things into existence. And so the same way your mind can't tell the difference, like they might be saying mind, but the energy, you're calling back that energy every time you talk about certain things. So once you begin to change the way you're speaking on it, saying that I overcame something, opposed to saying I am a victim to something, you kind of change the energy around that as well. And so one of the things that I used to do with some of the patients, I would have them rewrite their story, which was a way for them to recode the energy and to also recode their DNA. Because certain traumas that we have, we pass that on to our children. And so I would have them rewrite the story. So if they went through some kind of assault, we would then rewrite that in a way to where we can make it that they were survivors opposed to victims. Or when they had a situation, they overcame a situation, or they were able to see a lesson in the situation. I learned this from this situation, and I'm going to take this lesson forward in this way, so that it's changing the way that the energy is vibrating about the situation, if they must speak about it, or if they must tell others about it, but also that they're not bringing it back or attracting it to themselves or their offspring. So the power of the mind, the voice, and energy when it comes to anything about mental health is very important. And so we have to begin to change the way that we speak, which we talk about often here, is changing the way that we speak, because we begin to speak these things into our lives.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Anybody else? Ogun, that you're like, I ain't saying nothing else.
Nah, I just ain't got nothing to say. I'm just observing.
No, I'm playing with you. I'm playing. So, thank you, everybody. I don't know. We're gonna discuss where we may post this on YouTube. Or, probably post this on YouTube. And that way, everybody can kind of have, I guess, access to this, because it's a very important topic. And so even the same sword, but different part of the sword, two different, the part of the blade over here and part of the blade over there is required for to completely cut away those things, right? And we can apply it to any type of lower vibrational energy. I was trying to how the Ifa Kimmy said, vibratory.
I forgot, but it sounds something like that.
Like, damn, I wish I could say it that way.
Let me see. Low vibratory energy.
Yeah, there we go. So, but I say so. I think we're gonna try to post this on YouTube. We'll get everything else caught up as well. So, Adabo boy 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 she